get that. See, I.
Check with you before you come in.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, sir.
You ready, Tom?
Your meeting.
Okay. Call this Board of Health meeting to order. We'll begin with a roll call.
Go.
Here.
Number 11.
Here.
Number call.
Here.
Number red.
Here.
Here. We have some minutes to approve from the Board of Health meeting on October 29th, 2024.
Second.
Any additions, corrections, comments? We'll do a roll call on those minutes.
Yes.
Number Lopez.
Yes.
Number Vaccaro.
Yes.
Number red.
Yes.
President.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to correspondence. Does anyone with the Board of Health have any correspondence? On to petition and hear visitors. Anyone in the audience wish to make a comment? We really don't have any visitors. All right, next we'll move on to old business. I believe we have a report on 425 East Main Street. Report and recommendations for Keystone Real Estate Holdings.
Yes, pursuant to the letter ruling following the last appeal hearing regarding 425 East Main Street, myself, Ms. Glenn's, and Mr. Plowman met at the Keystone. And the board specifically wanted items of work to be completed, the cost, estimated cost of which to complete them, and a deadline by which to complete them. We were able to nail down the items of work to be completed, the deadline in which to complete them. However, Ms. Glenn's did not have estimated costs nor any quotes for any of the work to be done. Given the timeline, it was about a week when she got the letter ruling from the last appeal hearing to the actual meeting date to get the report to the board today. She suggested, and it was agreed upon, that she would give these estimates by November 19th for all of the work to be done on page 2 of the report. It was further recommended to her that she seek advice of a licensed architect, contractor, engineer, somebody with knowledge to firm up the estimated costs. Rather than just spitball these numbers, we need something, estimates, quotes, something like that. So the report submitted, we did meet. The items of work are items 1 through 6. The deadlines, again, beginning December 1st, the board said that the roof must be completed by December 1st. There's a timeline going into July 31st, August 31st, 2025, and then final work was pursuant to the board's letter ruling, all must be completed October 31st of 2025. So I submit the report. I would just recommend that Ms. Glenn's be allowed to submit estimates, written estimates cost by November 19th, which would be a week.
Any questions from any members of the Board of Health? Okay, I believe we should do a roll call vote to accept that report.
I do, before we do.
Okay,
How did we come upon the dates of July for exterior? Could that not have been started earlier?
That was her
should
suggestion.
be the first.
Sure it was.
That's the minutes.
Okay, I just want to know.
I think she was focusing on interior work on the second floor, item 1, which would be the spring. And then she needed some more time in which to do the exterior, so she suggested the end of the summer, in the middle of the summer.
Okay. Thank you.
And we don't have a motion yet, but there will be ongoing inspections through this process, correct?
That's correct, and I believe the board even reserved the right to hold status reviews of this. And Mr. President, I do also want to report that when I drafted this report and I emailed it to Ms. Glenn's and Mr. Plowman on Thursday, I heard back from Mr. Plowman. He did receive this. I never heard back from Ms. Glenn. I did email this to her.
So did we have a motion on that? No, we didn't. Okay.
Make motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, any additional comments? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote to accept that report.
Member Gall,
Yes.
Member Lopez.
Yes.
Member Victoria,
Yes.
Member Real,
Yes.
President Grover.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to the second part of old business. We have a nuisance properties waiver list that is going to be presented to the Board of Health for our consideration.
Yes, Mr. President, Board, we have a lot to get to here. So for this particular meeting only, we have before the board 14 of the waivers to be ultimately ratified. However, for this particular meeting, it was brought to our attention that the board should first declare all these properties a nuisance first by just basic simple testimony from Mr. Plowman in a group of the 14 to first have the board declare them a nuisance, and then within maybe for a next motion to ratify these waivers based upon the finding of the nuisance
You
judge.
said 14, I think we have 11 on the list here, and then there's more under new business, 5 under new business.
3 have been added. So we can only focus on the 11.
Well, if you want to add them.
It was just at the last minute that there was more that came in and signed today.
We want to add those now?
Well, you can add them out verbally, we can each write them down, or you can have them be part of the batch.
Yeah, number 12 is 9 Delaware Avenue.
Owner?
Nathan Dominic,
13 is 46 East Avenue.
that is Richard Pope.
13, what's the address again?
46 East Avenue.
And Richard Pope.
Correct. And item 14 would be address 82 East Ave.
And that is Angela McCormick, is the deeded owner. She goes by Angela Gustafson now.
And if I may say, number 7 is 78 East Avenue, 75.
And when Mr. Hannah mentioned the second motion will be to ratify the agreement, it's an agreement that Mr. Plowman's already signed. Ratification means you give your stamp of approval to an action that's already been taken. Okay?
Thank you. Mr. President, with that, I would just elicit brief testimony from Mr. Plowman to present to the board to establish that these 14 properties are public nuisances.
Okay.
If you could raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the true self you got?
Yes.
Okay. You can state your name.
Brandon Plowman?
Okay. And you're employed?
Yes.
Okay. And in what capacity?
I am currently the health director for the city of Bradford.
Okay. And you were employed before that, correct?
Correct. I was property maintenance officer for the city of Bradford.
And prior to that, you were employed
Yes.
in what capacity?
I worked for a local contractor for approximately 12 years.
So it's fair to say you got 14 years experience in this industry?
Yes.
And in your current capacity, you require certain certifications?
Yes.
And those certifications require renewals?
Correct.
Mr. President, I would offer Mr. Plowman as an expert for tonight's proceeding.
Accepted.
Mr. Plowman, all of these properties, for the record, 142 East Avenue, 9 Euclid Avenue, 73 Jefferson Street, 35 Avenue B, 5 Longfellow Avenue, 247 South Avenue, 78 East Avenue, 26 High Street, 106 Rockland Avenue, 123 West 40th Street, 30 High Street, 9 Delaware Avenue, 46 East Avenue, and 82 East Avenue, 14 in all. Are you particularly aware of all of these properties?
I have been to every one of these properties and dealt with them in one way or another.
You personally observed these properties?
Right.
Okay. And the observations you made of these properties, were there code violations that would violate the International Property Maintenance Code?
Yes.
And in such, you would, in your opinion, find these to be public nuisances.
Yes.
I have no further questions about these particular properties.
Okay, are there any questions from the Board of Health? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to declare these properties.
I make a motion, we declare all 14 of these properties that were just listed as public nuisance.
Second.
Additional comments? I'll do a roll call vote on that motion.
Member Gall,
Yeah.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member Pecora,
Yes.
Member Rio,
Yes.
President Hilton.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to new business.
Mr. President, you still,
Oh,
need
excuse
someone
me,
up.
excuse me, right. We have one more set of,
Sure, yeah, sure, thank you. And, Mr. Plowman, all of the property owners listed for these 14 properties signed a waiver, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and in that waiver, they agreed that these, properties are public nuisances, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Therefore, Mr. President, we would submit to ratify, those currently signed waivers for the 14 properties presented this evening.
Motion to accept the ratified waiver for all 14 properties listed.
Second.
we will do a roll call vote on that ratification.
Member Gall,
Yes.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member Pecora,
Yes.
Member Rio,
Yes.
President Hilton.
Yes. Okay, now we will move on to new business. We have some properties to consider this evening, beginning with 159 East Main Street. John Camper is the owner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. For the record, it's John Camper and Joshua Jorgensen, joint owners with right to survivorship, owners on the property. Mr. Plowman, you've been previously sworn, you've been previously determined to be an expert in tonight's proceeding. And in the capacity of your employment, you're familiar with the property at 159 East Main Street, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And do you know who owns this property?
Yes. I know the name.
Would that be John Camper and Joshua Jorgensen?
Yes.
And in the course of your employment, did you have occasion to take photographs of 159 East Main Street?
Yes.
Okay. I'm showing you what I've marked as exhibits A1 through A35. Are you familiar with these photographs?
Yes.
And did you take those photographs personally?
Yes.
And those photographs would be taken on November 7th of this year, correct?
Yeah.
Mr. President, I would move for the admission of exhibits A1 through A35.
Accepted?
And if you could, well, I know there are a lot of photographs, testify as to what the condition of the property is.
I would consider the structure as dangerous. There is almost no windows that are intact in the structure. The roof leaks, which has compromised the flooring throughout the entire structure. And underneath the structure, the foundation has collapsed in several areas. Also, there was recently a fire, well, not recently, there was also a fire in the structure in 2020 that had burnt out a large portion of the floor inside the living room. This structure is also accessible to the public, not only through the rear basement door, but also you could gain access through the large holes in the foundation itself. There's no way to secure the structure.
Did you observe any conditions regarding the foundation?
Yeah,
What did you observe?
that the foundation has collapsed on the interior of the basement in several spots.
Do you feel that the structure is fit for human occupancy? Do you feel that the structure deems a threat to the public health and safety?
I do.
And what lead to that conclusion?
I feel that the structure is in imminent danger to the public and should be considered for an emergency demo.
And in your opinion, based on that testimony, do you feel that 159 East Main Street is a public nuisance?
Yes,
Are you aware of any utilities on the property?
there are no utilities.
And you had an occasion to review the proposed order for the Board of Health, correct?
Correct.
And all contents are true to the best of your knowledge?
Yeah.
For Mr. Plowman, I have no further questions, Mr. President.
Okay, any questions?
Do you know how long the current owner is on the property?
Based on the deed, August 28th of 2007.
Who's the prior one? What's it listed on?
It came out of Wells Fargo Bank, probably a foreclosure.
Do we have any indication of squatters or illegal activity in the building? If you're aware.
I would indicate that I do have a report from the fire department that, there was a bed mattress that was discovered that was on fire in the living room. Most likely, I would assume probably water.
You said that was 2020?
Correct, yes.
And I do intend to find one more witness on this property.
Okay. Go ahead.
If you could state your name, sir,
Jeff Andrews?
and would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Andrews, are you employed?
I am employed by contract with the city.
And in that employment, you're familiar with the property at 159 East Main Street, correct?
Yes,
And have you personally observed the property?
yes,
And was this a recent observation?
yes.
When was that?
Yesterday morning.
And what did you observe, if anything, during?
That the structure is in imminent danger of failure and collapse.
And can you elaborate why it's in immediate danger of collapse?
Much as Brandon has testified, there are large sections of the foundation that are toppled in and missing. The floors what floors are still intact are very, dislodged and shifting. And a couple of other notations is the structure is within about 18 inches of the neighboring property, where the foundation is the worst on that side. I would not go into the upper floors of the structure because of the condition of the foundations. We probably shouldn't have been in the basement either, but we did step into the basement to check the foundations, and I believe the structure is in imminent danger for collapse.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. I have no further questions.
Following up on that, there was testimony that the structure is currently not secured. So the collapse is one issue, but it could also be noted that if anybody got in there, whether it was a squatter or some neighborhood kids, there's also an imminent danger of someone being injured, correct?
Yes.
And actually, we have basically two requests from the city. The first request is to declare a public nuisance, but the second request is that we move forward with a immediate emergency demolition.
I make a motion we declare 159 East Main Street public nuisance.
Second.
Okay. Do a roll call vote on that?
Member Gall,
Yes.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
President Roper.
Yes. Now, before we move on, should we as a board also direct that this be torn down.
We've done emergency demolitions in the past without being authorized by the Board of Health and City Council.
Okay.
And he's willing to sign off on it.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to the next property, which is 7 Cold Grove Avenue, owned by Donald and Kimberly Halleck.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Plowman, in the course of your employment, you're familiar with the property at 7 Cold Grove Avenue?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, who owns 7 Cold Grove Avenue?
Donald and Kimberly Halleck?
And you had occasion to take photographs of 7 Cold Grove Avenue, correct?
Correct.
I'm showing you what I've marked as exhibits A1 through A24. Are you familiar with these photographs?
Yes.
I think you take these photographs.
Yes.
And those photographs were taken by you on November 7th, correct?
Correct.
And those photographs accurately depict the structure of the premises as of that date, correct?
Correct.
If you could elaborate to the board the conditions of the property depicted in those photographs.
It appears that this structure has basically been abandoned. The roof does show signs of aging with cut, worn, or missing or deteriorating shingles. There is a side porch where the roof has collapsed into the porch area. There is a section of the siding on the front that has deteriorated to the point that it's basically missing. The house appears that it's on pillars, and with the skirting that is around the bottom of the house, it appears that the house is shifting in one direction and is sinking basically.
The photographs also depict a corner of the structure. Did you observe any foundation issues?
On the rear porch section area, the blocking has moved and it's not secure. And the bottom of the sill plate on that section of the house has deteriorated.
Is the structure secure?
Yes, the structure is secure.
Are you aware of any active utilities on the structure?
I'm not aware of any active utilities.
And based on your testimony and your observations regarding this property, it's your opinion that 7 Colbert Avenue is a public nuisance, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I have no further questions from Mr. Fallon.
Do we know when the last time this home was occupied?
I'm not aware.
Okay. And it appears there is a fair amount of trash in the yard around sheds.
On the rear of the structure,
Yeah.
yes.
Have you had any contact with the owner about this property?
I have not.
When was it condemned?
Twenty 2024.
Were there any previous orders written against it back during our last cycle of orders, as we've seen on some properties?
This property that I've handled is a
Okay.
property.
Are the city taxes and everything's up to date?
There are no delinquent real estate taxes. They've been paid through 2023. And that's based on the public record.
Any outstanding city sewer, water, garbage?
All utilities through the city have been terminated.
Okay. There's nothing on the books that was unpaid in the past.
I'm not aware.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I know. I make a motion, that we declare 7 Cold Road Avenue a public nuisance.
Second. All right, do a roll call vote on 7 Cold Grove.
Member Gall,
Yeah.
member Lopez,
Yes.
member Pecora,
Yes.
member Rio,
Yes.
President Pro.
Yes. We'll move on to 73 West Cordon Street. Richard Matone Jr.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Plowman, in the course of your employment, you're familiar with the property at 73 West Gordon Street?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, who owns 73 West Gordon? And in the course of your employment, you took photographs of this property?
Yes.
I'm showing you what I've marked as exhibits A1 through A20. Are you familiar with these photographs?
Yes.
You personally took these photographs?
Yes.
And they were taken to you, by you on November 7th of this year?
Yes.
And those photographs accurately depict the premises and the structure as of that date, correct?
Yes.
Mr. President, I would move the omission of exhibits A1 through 8.
Accepted.
If you could, Mr. Plowman, go through what you observed regarding the conditions of 73 West Gordon Street.
The porch-roof structures on both the front and rear side have entirely collapsed in. The front porch is extremely dangerous to walk across. There's basically no windows that are intact. The majority of the windows are either boarded up or missing. The siding on the entire structure is completely deteriorated. The footings underneath the structure have moved, or the structure itself has moved from the footings. There's a large amount of debris on the property, as well as bed mattresses and whatever else may be on the front porch. And the interior of the structure is entirely gutted. And while I was there, I did observe a raccoon or something inside the structure, which had run to the underneath of the house through a hole in the floor.
It's clear to say that the house is unsecured, correct?
Yes, the house is unsecured.
You testified to some footing, and are there serious foundation issues?
On the one side, yes.
And did you observe whether there any gas service?
There is no gas services or electrical services have been terminated, and the electric service drop is cut down.
And based upon your testimony, it's in your opinion that 73 West Gordon Street is a public nuisance?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Mr. President.
Okay, just a question, observation from the pictures. You stated the porches were completely collapsed. I guess as I looked at the structure, not really seeing the inside, other than a couple of pictures, the porches appear to be dangerous for anybody that would attempt to walk across them, what's existing in them. Like the last house we just discussed, you don't feel this structure would be in an imminent danger of collapsing?
The main structure, I do not feel is in imminent danger of collapse. I do feel that it is, since it is not secure, that if somebody were to go in there, especially at dark, that they could get hurt in there, fall through the floor, something.
Okay.
I make a motion we declare 73 West Gordon Street a public nuisance.
Second.
Right, we'll vote on 73 West Gordon Street.
Member Gall,
Yes.
member Lopez.
Yes.
Member Pecora,
Yes.
member Rio,
Yes.
President Pro.
Yes. Next, we'll move on to 18 Interstate Parkway. Gary, help me with this one. Okay, be aboard.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Plowman, in the course of your employment, are you familiar with the property at 18 Interstate?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, who owns 18 Interstate Parkway?
Gary Diodardi?
And in the course of your employment, did you also take photographs of 18 Interstate Parkway?
Yes.
I'm showing you what I've marked as exhibits A1 through A39. Are you familiar with these photographs?
Yes.
And did you personally take these photographs?
Yes.
And they were taken on November 7th of this year, correct?
Yes.
And those photographs accurately depict the structure as of that date, correct?
Correct.
Mr. President, I would move the admission of exhibits A1 through A39.
Accepted.
And Mr. Plowman, when it comes to 18 Interstate Parkway, if you could generally testify to what you observed building that.
This is another structure that has basically been abandoned. The roof of the structure is entirely moss covered, and the roof is in poor condition. There are several issues on the exterior of the structure, even with the front porch, the rear entrance steps. There's two large overgrown trees that cover the structure. One of them is dead and has fallen limbs. This structure is not secure. This also has a accessory structure that is dilapidated with broken windows. There's a good amount of water in the basement. And it also appeared that there was most likely squatters living in the upstairs of the structure.
Is the property, are we able to gain access through the rear or the front of the structure?
Through the side in the gated fenced-in area.
When it comes to the main structure on the property, were the windows secure?
There is a few of the windows that are broke. I didn't check to see if they would open.
Is there any gas service to the structure?
I don't believe so.
And you testified to the roof being moss covered. Did you observe any issues with the eaves?
Yeah, so there's missing fascia, missing soffit. The gutters are not operable and missing in several spots.
And based on your testimony and your observations, you feel that 18 Interstate Parkway is a public nuisance?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Mr. President.
It appears from some of the interior pictures that there were some attempted renovations. Looks like there's some carpet rolls, ladders, some tools.
Generators.
We don't have any idea.
I can't tell you whether these are attempted renovations or whether it's being used for storage.
Okay.
Is the house unsecured?
The house is unsecured.
And there's a generator sitting there like that.
Correct.
Hard to believe. The homeless people come and go and they.
It looked like there actually was squatters on the second floor in two different bedrooms.
Sorry.
Beds.
Has the property owner been cited and fined? And if so, has he paid the fine?
He has not been cited.
Is he local?
He lives in Limestone.
What's the overall, I guess, just looking at this house from the pictures, what would you say the overall condition of this house is compared to the other ones we've looked at. It appears structurally that it's probably kind of still okay.
In my opinion, you would have to basically take this back down to the framing and start over. I think the framing's salvageable.
Okay.
They're saying the house is structurally sound. They could throw for the resting.
Most likely.
Have you been in contact with the owner?
I have in the past. Um, Currently, the other property maintenance officer has been trying to coordinate with Gary on getting the dead ash tree out of the front yard. We've had no luck. I have gotten Gary to clean up the property a little bit throughout the course of time. He does just enough, and he's figured out how to do just enough.
I make a motion, we declare 18 Parkway Lane public use.
Interstate.
Interstate.
It's not internet.
Yeah, tear my house down. Interstate Parkway.
Your second?
I'll second.
All right. Additional comments? Okay, we will do a vote on 18 Interstate Parkway.
Yeah.
Lopez.
Yeah.
Laura.
Yes.
Green.
Yes.
Roper.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to our last property of the evening, 7 Rochester Street.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Plowman, in the course of your employment, are you familiar with the property at 7 Rochester Street?
Yes,
Do you know who owns 7 Rochester Street?
James Moore II.
And in the course of your employment, you had occasion to take photographs of the property,
Yes,
showing you what I've marked as exhibits A1 through A24. Are you familiar with those photographs?
yes,
And you personally took those photographs,
yes,
and those again were taken on November 7th of this year, correct?
correct,
And those photographs accurately depict the structure of the premises as of that date, correct?
correct.
Mr. President, I would move the admission of exhibits A1 through A24.
Accepted?
If you could, Mr. Plowman, testify as to the depiction of those photographs.
This structure has sustained a large amount of water infiltration due to the extremely poor condition of the roof, especially on one side. There's large holes in the roof. It's obvious through looking through the windows that the ceilings and flooring have water damage. There are multiple broken, cracked windows. At one point, the front porch roof structure had collapsed. And it appears that the framing had been cut away from the house with some sort of maybe a sawzall and was hauled away. The exterior of the property has been neglected. And I don't believe we have had very good luck in the past trying to contact Mr. Moore.
You testified that the roof, due to the condition of the roof, there was serious water damage. Other than the interior, you testified to any exterior water damage on the walls?
As far as the exterior walls,
Right.
I don't see a whole lot of signs of damage. The siding is in fairly decent condition.
And in one of the photographs depicts bricks along the foundation or the footing. Are there any foundational issues?
It's hard to tell with the skirting and the type of skirting that's on there. There was one section that I was able to see on this side with the bad roof, that there was some deterioration of the brick foundation, but I couldn't get a clear picture of it.
And there's a secondary structure and outbuilding on this property?
Right.
And what's the condition of that?
It's in poor condition.
And what is, what, are there roof issues, foundation issues?
It's tough to really determine anything specific other than poor, because it's still overgrown with trees and it's tough to get up close and get a good look at it.
And is this structure secured?
Yes, it is good.
And based on your testimony and your observations of the property, it's your opinion that 7 Rochester Street is a public nuisance, correct?
Yes.
And I previously had asked you, when we started on 159 East Main, to the last properties where you testified to, you had a chance to review the proposed order before the board for all of those properties.
Yeah.
Okay. And all of those contents of the orders are true to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions this morning.
Okay, in reviewing these pictures and to some extent, the, house before this that we reviewed, but more to an extent here. I mean, exterior on this house, if you look at the roof, it's old, in very, very bad shape. But the house itself appears to have relatively recent vinyl siding, replacement windows, fascia and soffit that has been redone. It's really a shame, and we're seeing this more and more, that our houses in the city, property owners are just allowing them to sit there and deteriorate to a terrible condition when some of them start out to be relatively decent houses and they deteriorate very quickly, especially when a roof goes. Takes the whole inside, right?
So there's a hole in the roof big enough for a human to fit through.
Yes.
And each side's gotta be shot.
Yep. And so, I mean, that's a shame, because with the need for housing in the community, there's we probably looked at 2 houses tonight that structurally 5 to 7, maybe 10 years ago were perfectly good, livable structures. And now we're moving forward with possibly tearing them down because there just really is no other option. So I guess I said my piece and really don't have any questions on this one. Pictures tell the story.
The Department of Property Maintenance is still important moving forward, is that we start preventing these homes that are decent condition now, but we're not sitting here, or new boards not sitting here 7 or 8 years from now looking at that house because property maintenance didn't enforce the codes. So that's where the follow-up now is so important, that our property maintenance department did its job to enforce the codes on these homes that are,
Yep.
borderline. So that's just my 2%. So thank you for letting me comment.
Yes, thank you.
I make a motion to declare 7 Rochester Street a public nuisance.
Okay, any additional comments? All right, we'll do a roll call vote on 7 Rochester. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
For real.
Yes.
Yes. If no one has any other business before the Board of Health, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
Karen, did you? We have a few minutes.